Every year when it rolls around, I am taken back to September 2012 to the original release of one of my favorite games, Borderlands 2. Sadly, I hadn't gotten my hands on the game until a year later, but I can still remember watching videos from Tetra Ninja, Yodi Slaya, and Woody's Gamertag that introduced me to the amazing world that I would still be in love with exactly 10 years later. As Borderlands 2 has become a big part of my gaming adventure, I thought today, September 18, 2022, would be the perfect time to create a video and show my love and appreciation for a game that changed my life and could have pulled me out of some very dark times. As we load the game, we are greeted by our four main Vault Hunters who are all working together to raid a Hyperion train. We meet Axon the Commando, Zero the Assassin, Maya the Siren, and Salvador the Gunzerker. They all make their way through this train and into the main car just to be confronted by a doll of our antagonist, Handsome Jack, wired up to what may be thousands of pounds of explosives. With the train being destroyed and our four characters being presumed dead, we wake up to the sweet, funny, and annoying ass little robot named Claptrap. After he makes you want to scratch your brains out, he gives you an echo device and drags you into his home. As he's telling you how safe it is, he gets his eye torn out by a bullywong, and later we have to retrieve the Psy. Now, Claptrap is a Hyperion robot that's meant to open doors, but this time it fails, and this is where we meet Angel, a supposed Hyperion AI that opens the first door for us, and will accompany us for the rest of the game, well, kind of. After looting from the Hyperion barge, we make it to the first small town named Liarsburg, where we meet Sir Hammerlock, who repairs Claptrap and sends us on our way to kill Boom Boom, Captain Flint, and get Claptrap's boat so we can make our way to Sanctuary. As we arrive, we are told to find a missing Crimson Raider named Corporal Reese and retrieve the power core to keep Sanctuary safe. After replacing the core, we meet Scooter, who tries to make the city fly, but ended up failing and sending us to the Crimson Raider safe house that held an echo recorder that led us to believe the leader had been kidnapped by the Firehawk. After fighting through Frostburn Canyon, we find out that the Firehawk is really an ex-Vault Hunter named Lilith who would later help us. She attempts to teleport us back to the Bloodshot Stronghold where Roland was truly being held. She fails, and instead we have to meet up with Scooter's sister Ellie, who helps us build a new vehicle used to trick the Bloodshots. We murder Badmaw and make our way through the entire stronghold to find Roland, who is kidnapped by a Hyperion constructor named Warden. We defeat Warden, and after fighting alongside Roland, we head back to Sanctuary and then travel to the Tundra Express to meet up and team up with Mordecai, a sniper who is accompanied by his bird Bloodwing. He then sends us to meet a demolitions expert named Tiny Tina. She builds us bombs used to destroy a Hyperion train thought to hold the vault key. After blowing up the train and heading to the area where the car was supposed to be, we meet Wilhelm, who we have to kill. And instead of a vault key, he drops a power core, which we use yet again to power Sanctuary's shields, but this time it doesn't go well as we learn that Angel worked for Hyperion the entire time. Lilith is luckily able to teleport the city out of harm's way, but it leaves us without a fast travel station and forces us to make our way through the Fridge and the Highlands. After clearing a Hyperion factory and a massive thresher, we get a beacon and go to the next small town of Outlook. We place the beacon and have to defend against a horde of loaders sent by Jack until eventually the fast travel station is shot from the moonshot and lands, leaving us away back to Sanctuary. When we get back, we are then sent on a quest to help Mordecai retrieve his bird Bloodwing, who has an upgrade we need to give Claptrap to get past the first of many hurdles to find the vault key and ruin Jack's plans. We finally make it after fighting hundreds of enemies and now need to defeat mutated Bloodwing and get her weak enough to be given a trank, but Jack had other plans, and now Bloodwing has no head. After grabbing the upgrade, we again go back just to be sent out again to meet the last Vault Hunter, Brick, the leader of the Slabs, who can give us support using his slabs and their firepower. This leads us to the Hyperion City of Opportunity. We need to kill Jack's body double in order to get voice samples of Jack so we can pass the final gate and speak a password in his voice. We then make our final assault on the bunker, which after destroying many turrets, we discover that it isn't just a place, but a thing. A massive, very healthy robot that is used to protect the vault key. Soon after killing Bunker, we reach Angel and find out she's a siren, and Jack is using his own daughter to charge the vault key. To stop Jack, we need to destroy the injectors, which mean that Angel will lose her life as well. But that's not the only life that is lost. Jack teleports in and shoots Roland through the chest and kidnaps Lilith using the weakest collar I've ever seen in my life. The last two left order us to go to the Arid Nexus, but we have to make a pit stop at Sawtooth Cauldron because the bridge was raised, and now we need major explosives to blow it back down. Making it to the Arid Nexus, we pressurize the pipe and hit it with a car so we can make it to the second to the last area of the game. Here we meet Saturn, Hyperion's largest, toughest robot. Just past Saturn, we finally get the map and know the location of the vault and the warrior. We fight our way through respawning loaders and Heroes Pass to finally fight Jack himself. himself. After fighting his doubles and getting him weak enough, he calls in the warrior, who is a massive vault alien boss thing. And after a tough fight, we kill the warrior, kill Jack, and destroy the vault key, but not before finding evidence of hundreds of vaults scattered across the universe. During our main story playthrough, we did explore a good bit of the world, but there are places that you don't really learn a lot about. You miss out on areas that are really only accessible when it comes to side quests. I'm not going to go that in depth on these areas because then this video would be hours long, but I will at least talk about them a little. Heading into the Southern Shelf Bay, there is not much to cover besides a couple hidden chests, but this is where one of the earliest side quests leads you. Sir Hammerlock gives you a mission to kill Midgemong, a half-human, half-bullymong couple who happen to drop a very fun legendary named the Kerblaster. Moving to Three Horns Valley, you reach Southpaw Seaman Power, which is unlocked by accepting a mission on the bounty board in Sanctuary. It takes you to kill 4 Hyperion assassins who each drop their own uniques: the Commerce, the Law, the Fremington's Edge, and the Trey Dog. Now, they may drop these guns, but they all have a chance to drop the legendary, the Emperor. Onto the fridge, and right as you enter, you can see Fink's Slaughterhouse, which is a circle of slaughter, which of course is nothing too special, but does end with the reward of the unique assault rifle, the Kitten. Going to the dust, there are 2 places you unlock later in the game. First is the Friendship Gulag, which is basically just an area for side content. You can come here first if you fail to save Roland from the Warden, or you can come here to complete the mission to get the most sought after sniper rifle, De La Yuda. The next is Lynchwood, which is a hub for side content. You come here for the Mongol rocket launcher dropped by Dukinu's mom, the Madhouse, you get the Law, the Sheriff's and Deputy's badge, and the best unique in the game, the Bane. Lynchwood is connected to the train station in the dust, where you fight the Hodunks and the Zaffords. Luckily, the Zaffords also have a side area called the Holy Spirit's Bar, where you can kill the Bagman for a chance to get the Pot of Gold shield. Now, the Wildlife Preservation Preserve has its own circle of slaughter, the Natural Selection Annex, which has you fighting hordes of animals, and the end goal being the Creamer rocket launcher. If you decide to drive back to where Sanctuary used to be, you reach Sanctuary Hole, and there's nothing there besides a passage to Caustic Caverns, which is great for getting the Heartbreaker after completing mission from Marcus, the Fabled Tortoise after killing the massive Crystallisk Blue. Then if you go to the complete opposite end, you reach the Minecraft Easter egg where you can get the Blockhead or the legendary Longbow Sniper Rifle. Moving to the Iridium Blight on the opposite end of the dust, you get to where you fight Mel, and you can see Orchasm, where you can find your yet another circle of slaughter. Now finally we have Terramorphous Peak, where you fight the first raid boss of the game, Terramorphous, where you can get one of the legendary class mods, the Pitchfork, the Hide, the Blood, Breath, and Teeth of Terramorphous, and copious amounts of death. But what good are any of these areas if you have no protagonist to conquer them? We of course have the original 4, Axton, Zero, Salvador, and Maya, but with DLC we have 2 new additions, Engage and Krieg. I don't know how I want to do this or what order, so I guess let's just go down the list and see what happens. First, we have Axton, an ex-Dahl military soldier who was either discharged or an AWOL, I'm not really quite sure. But even though he is no longer in the military, he is still very skilled with weaponry, mainly assault rifles and various explosives. Most of his builds are around his use of either, and of course his saber turret is upgradable as well. You can get a second turret, you can make them longbow, give them slag bullets, rocket shields, or even nuclear explosions, so they do actually prove quite useful. Next is possibly the complete opposite of Axton, Zero, an assassin who keeps their identity a secret and who is wanted for assassinating many public figures. Zero, of course, being a skilled murderer, is well classed in melee and sniping. Paired perfectly with headshots, kunai, or the very overpowered boar, any enemy in his way won't even see what's coming at them. Especially when he uses action skill, which leaves a decoy, and Zero himself becomes invisible, using the power of surprise to inflict even more damage. Now, onto one half of the Maya the Psycho fanfiction community. Maya, of course, is one of the 6 sirens in the universe. Each siren has a very special power, with Maya's being able to suspend her enemies and pull them out of the fight for a couple seconds. It's not the only way you could go through with this, though. You could also throw a ball of slag, and at the same time, you can suspend and burn your enemies, or control one's mind and force them to fight for you. Even though she can change enemies to allies, she can also help her vault-hunting friends at the same time, instant revives or bullets to the head to heal them. Speaking of bullets to the head, Salvador may not be able to hit the head very often, but with his damage output, that just doesn't matter. With the ability to wield 2 weapons and throw 2 grenades, whatever you put in his hands is just insane, especially when you pair it with Money Shot. Basically everything is dead. I don't have much else to say, and I'm sure that if you met Sal, you wouldn't be saying anything either. Just like this next character just won't be able to hit anything. Gage and her Death Trap are just the most inaccurate yet damaging combo in the game. With Gage's Anarchy skill and the Ricochet skills you can get later down the line, you can cause so much pain. Pair Death Trap with a melee shield and Gage with a B, a blockhead, or fibber, and the bullets don't look like they're going anywhere near, but they hit, and they hit hard. And lastly, the one who quite literally hits the hardest, Krieg the Psycho, the other half of the Krieg and Maya ship. Not only can you go psycho and pull out a throwable buzz axe to slash everything in your way into tiny little bits, but explosions can be chained for the highest damage of any character. Fire is also your best friend, but you can accidentally be put down by your friends, or more than likely Lilith. Of course, these characters I fell in love with mean nothing if the gameplay isn't where it's supposed to be. Of course, you do have plenty of bugs and glitches that can be used to your advantage, but also some that are quite annoying. One in particular that has plagued me so often is the softlock you can experience while hoisting Claptrap in the first hour of the game, but luckily these are few and far between, and the rest of the game is usually an amazing experience. I personally like the newer version since I'm a stinky console player, but on those versions we get to up the FOV, which makes it feel more fluid. We luckily don't take fall damage, which is a big plus, and just the amount of variety in the weapons and the character skills makes this game incredibly replayable, and mixed with the fun floaty movement, I think it's a very good combo. Speaking of weapon variety, there are indeed, as it says on the back of the box, lots of weapons. Now, it may be a little over exaggerated because there are tons of guns to choose from, but there are a certain amount just with many variations in parts on the weapon itself. Each of these parts can completely change a gun. Even a simple barrel change creates an entirely different weapon. A TMP can be transformed into an anarchist, a coach gun can be transformed into the all-powerful quad. Even a specific element and barrel can change a regular Hyperion SMG to the rarest gun in the game, the Weisenheimer. Tons of these guns are unique and either only come from missions or from one specific source. There are also a lot of legendaries that also only come from missions or from a specific boss or enemy unless you get a world drop, which is very rare but can happen, especially when it comes to the legendary loot midges, which can pretty much drop any legendary in Generation 1 pearlescence. Now, I'm going to try and go through these pretty quickly, so try to keep up. Now, starting with the legendaries, in the Southern Shelf area, we have the Hornet dropped by Knuckle Dragger, the Kerblaster dropped by Midgemong, the bonus package dropped by Boom Boom, the Thunderball Fist dropped by Captain Flint. See, that's not too bad. Onto the Three Horns general area. There's the Unkempt Herald dropped by Savage Lee, the Fastball dropped by Bull, the Infinity dropped by Doc Mercy, and the Emperor dropped by the Assassins in Southpaw Steam and Power. Now moving on to the Frostburn Canyon, you can get the Flame of the Firehawk shield from Lilith's mission, the Hellfire is dropped by Scorch, the Pyrophobia is dropped by Incinerator Clayton, and the Neogenator is dropped by Spyco. Going far off into the dust, we have the Nukem dropped by the Black Queen, the Hammer Buster dropped by McNally, the Maggie dropped by McZafford, the Slaga dropped from the Hodunk, the Lyuda dropped by Gettle, and the Varuk dropped by Mobley. Throw in the Stormfront from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Rats, since they're the only ones to drop a legendary in Bloodshot Stronghold. Now, going on to the Tundra Express area, there is the Babymaker dropped by Madame von Bartlesby, and the Rolling Thunder and Logan's Gone dropped from Windhelm. In the very, very fucking cold fridge, you could grab the Gub dropped by the Rat Bitch Laney, the Gunnerang dropped by the Flying Rat Rackman, and the Sledge's Shotgun dropped by the One-Hit Wonder Smashhead. Far into the distant highlands, we can get the Striker, dropped by Old Slappy, or the Cradle, dropped by Henry the Stalker. Then driving all the way to the other side, in the Caustic Caverns, there's the Fabled Tortoise dropped by Blue, and the Longbow Sniper dropped by the Badass Creeper. Then driving back to the highlands, we reach the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve. The drops are the Skull Masher, dropped by the Son of Mothrak, the Transformer dropped by Pomone, and the Deliverance dropped by Toomba. On the other side of the highlands, we have Opportunity, which only has a one drop, which is the Black Hole from the Foreman. Now, all the way back to the dust going into Lynchwood, you have the very useful Mongol, dropped by Dukino's mom, and the not so useful Madhouse, dropped by Mad Dog. Completely skipping 1,000 cuts, we reach the bunker. Here we get two legendaries from the bunker, which is the Bitch and the Sham. Now, most of these only have one, so it's going to be kind of quick fire. In Iridium Blight, you get the Bada Boom from King Mong. In Sawtooth Cauldron, you get the Pandemic from Mortar. In the Arid Nexus, you get the Bee from Hunter Hellquist, and the Invader from Saturn in the Badlands. Moving on to the final two areas, we have the Vault of the Warrior, where you can get one of four legendaries: the Impaler Shield, the Flacker Shotgun, the Conference Call Shotgun, the Volcano Sniper, and the Leech Grenade, which we don't talk about, so I'm not even counting it. Now onto the final area, we have Terramorphous Peak, where you can also get one of any four legendaries: the Pitchfork Sniper, the Hide of Terramorphous Shield, the Slayer of Terramorphous Class Mod, and the Blood of Terramorphous Relic. I think that's it, right? Wait, you're telling me there's more? Oh, they're world drops, or they're dropped from Vermivorous. Well, I guess we have the Quasar drop from Ultimate Badass Varkids, the Bunny from Chubby Enemies, the Whiskey Tango Foxtrots from them too, and the Norfleet and Nasty Surprise from Vermivorous. Luckily, the Norfleet can be dropped by the much easier to find and kill Hyperius. Actually, isn't there the Fire Bee too? Oh fuck. Now, that actually gives me a perfect segue into one of the many DLCs in this game. There are 3 major categories, I guess we could call them: the Headhunters, the main story DLCs, and Digistruct Peak. Now, since the others have a lot more content in them, I think we'll start with the Headhunters, of course going in release order with TK Baja's Bloody Harvest. Meeting back up with the now undead TK Baja, he sends you on a quest around the graveyard in the city to eventually fight and kill the Pumpkin King. First, you start off by digging up graves to collect parts of a skeleton key, quite literally. Now, obviously you can't just stick the key together, so you need to meet the town's blacksmith, Sully. Baja kind of leads you to believe that they will forge it for you, but this is Borderlands, so obviously you kill the spider ant human thing and forge it yourself. After going through the gate, Baja lets you know that we are now filling time and need to destroy Shrak's nest to turn on the town's water and flood out the big-headed bitch. He pulls himself out of the ground, and after you kill him once, he becomes a flying head, which has basically no health, so yeah, he's just dead. There is one side quest where you run around the town getting TK Baja a bunch of brain candy to help out his addiction to literal brain, so he helped someone quit a terrible addiction, so it all worked out. Speaking of working out, we have the first of Torg's DLCs, where you meet with Torg while he's in the middle of his very own TV show. He pulls us aside and tells us that the water gobbler was seemingly invincible and that he has been craving some of its sweet meat. Now, the first thing we need to do is kill everybody in the kitchen, then make our way out to the fridge. Not that fridge, the literal fridge, to get 3 pieces of skag meat that we need to blend and poison with the tail end of a stabber jabber. After poisoning and trying to cook the meat, we kill even more people and end up with the final amazing looking skag pie. We go up Hunger Games style tubes and end up killing the water gobbler and making our way back to Torg for the hardest side quest in the history of Borderlands. Listening to Torg's grandmother talking for hours about random shit. At least you get a purple Torg launcher, so I guess that's a plus for early game. Now the place everyone farms for tons of loot, the Mercenary Day DLC. You start off by talking to Marcus, who needs you to retrieve guns sent by train through Gingerton. You meet up with smaller than average Timmy and find out that the entire city had been frozen. Going up to the furnace, you find that the coal had been stolen, and you run all the way over to find the train meant to be carrying the coal and the guns. After killing absolutely everybody, you use a crane and the furnace to reignite the fire and thaw out the once frozen village. We meet back with Timmy and learn about the snowman, who we then need to kill, steal his magical hat, and then we get a choice of anything out of the train originally meant to be sold as presents. Going to the penultimate headhunter, we have the Wedding Day Massacre. We meet with Moxie and Innuendobot, who are trying to get a long-lasting feud between the Hodunks and the Zaffords to finally stop. A Goliath from each side ended up falling in love, but we're still constantly fighting, so we needed to make a love potion for their wedding. After gathering many items and meeting up with Ed and his girlfriend, we are able to create the potion and make our way to the final ceremony where they take off their helmets to kiss. But of course, if you know anything about Goliaths, they kind of go crazy when they have no helmet, and it just turns out we have to kill the happy couple. Now, on to the final and probably my favorite headhunter in Borderlands 2, your journey and dream vacation to Wham Bam Island. We meet Sir Hammerlock, who is then kidnapped by a thing that we're not sure what it is yet. To find him and follow him to where he has been taken, we need a blood-sniffing Varkid that is attracted to him through the scent of his alcohol. We go through like 2 to 4 Varkids before finally finding Sir Hammerlock, who had been kidnapped by the son of Cromrax, whose father was killed by the original 4 Vault Hunters during Borderlands 1. After we kill it, that's kind of it. DLC over. There is another side mission where you fight the victims of the Vault Hunters, or, you know, they're dead before you get there. But you do get a much better farm for the Thunderball Fists. I couldn't think of a good transition, so pirate time. On the first main DLC we're going to cover, we start in the small town of Oasis, where we absolutely slaughter the bandits hiding out and meet the local, totally not dead townfolk and Shade. He then sends us to the ship of the pirate known as Captain Scarlet. Scarlet lets us know that she is one of the pieces of the compass needing to find a secret buried treasure. We head to an absolutely beautiful area called Hater's Folly, which holds the first piece of the compass and a boss named Sandman. After we kill him and steal his piece, we have to find a Hyperion escort and steal their piece as well. We reach Scarlet and she sends us to meet someone known as Herbert. He's a very perverted and honestly kind of weird old man who was once on Scarlet's crew but now lives on the sketchiest cliff I've ever seen in my life. We meet him and he sends us to pick up his audio logs meant for Scarlet, and in return he gives us the last pieces of compass we need. Sadly, our absolute raw power shatters the piece when we shoot the lock, and we have to head to the old Hyperion refinery to find polycriton, which is later used to put the compass piece back together. We can either choose to kill Herbert or let him live and Yeah, well, you know which one I picked. Now we head back to Scarlet, assemble the compass, and finally head to the Magnus Lighthouse to finally find the buried treasure, who also happened to swallow Captain Scarlet, and we have to fight her and kill her pet Roscoe where she disappears, and we have to face the Leviathan alone. And not long after killing it, we get to loot an absolutely huge loot room. Now, going from probably the best loot room to the worst loot explosion, Torg's Campaign of Carnage. Like any other Torg campaign, it's all a competition. We start in yet another town, absolutely killing everybody in it, just to go to a main arena for a circle of slaughter that leads us to be knocked out and carried away. We are betrayed by the big bad guy of the DLC, Piston. He's constantly accused of cheating, and we dealt with it firsthand. After escaping the room he trapped us in, we are told by Torg to find and kill Pyro Pete, who kidnapped a sponsor who just so happens to be Moxie herself. We save her, and once we follow her back to her bar, we are told to get down and dirty with Motor Mama. We complete her races and go to meet her. We meet another hurdle and have to flip a switch to open the area that is on the complete other side of the map. Anyways, we kill Motor Mama, and then we need to find and fight the second overall ranked badass, Flyboy. First, you have to steal his bling, and then you get to fight him, but plans change, and you have to kill Piston's blimp instead because he cheated yet again and destroyed Flyboy himself. After destroying the blimp, we head back to the arena from the beginning and fight the Badassosaurus Rex, and then Piston himself to end the campaign. Onto the campaign I've completed the least. Well, the fandom, it doesn't have the story, so I kind of have to write from memory, so just hang with me for a second. We start off by meeting Sir Hammerlock in a little cave where we go to a floating house tavern thing and kill the inhabitants and take it for our own. Next, we head out so we can fix the
Catch a ride.
We have to protect Hammerlock while he does it. We get a boat and head out to kill our first creature, Thermitage. We kill it, and Professor Nakayama insists that we come and fight him instead of just hunting. So we find our way to a savage village and meet their deity, Claptrap. We then make our way to the first lab ran by Nakayama, where he kept and where we had to kill Woundspike, who goes down relatively easy, and now Nakayama is scared. Finally, we reach the ship he hid in, and we kill Jackenstein and finally get to face Nakayama himself. Well, he actually just kind of falls down the stairs and dies. It's a pretty short DLC, but I had fun. Now. We are onto the best DLC ever released. Well, maybe? It's definitely up there. But it's Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. We start on a boat and we see Tina build this world right in front of our eyes. You see her mind work and the changes made on spot from a dragon to Mr. Bony Pants guy. We kill him and make our way to the town
of Flame Rock Refuge.
We meet with Ellie, who sends us to the gatekeeper, who didn't last long because Torg replaces him as he gets sent to the stocks. We then go into the forest and have to kill the trees to get bloodfruit and make our way to find the knight known as Roland. We meet him and kill the dragons he was being attacked by. We follow him and the gatekeeper to the next area where we are fooled, and the gatekeeper turned out to be one of the sorcerer's minion, spawning in undead kings who we have to kill. So I kind of forgot about the entire section of the dwarven mine and you actually assaulting the bottom of the tower. We then make our way into the castle but get dropped into the dungeons where we have to make our way through and find the damsel in distress, who also happens to be Angel. She turns out to be an evil monster spider thing that we have to kill before making our way all the way up to the top of the castle to fight the handsome sorcerer. Now this is the end of the campaign, with Roland surviving and Bloodwing being the one to save him. This DLC hit hard because you can see how Tina is affected by the death of her friends and the things that happened during our main story, and just such a beautiful end to the original cycle of Borderlands 2. Now, to be honest, that's where I want to leave the video. I love the Fight for Sanctuary DLC, but it wasn't an original part of the game that I fell in love with. And to be honest, I see it as a prequel expansion to Borderlands 3, so I will cover it one day, but I don't really want to talk about it yet. Especially since this video is about the nostalgia for the game that millions have experienced, and I know it's a little unfair, but yeah. And also, as this is my first video, well, one of my first, the other two will be uploaded later, and I know it wasn't my best, but I hope you enjoyed. I can't wait to make more and get better, and I'm really trying my hardest. I guess this is where I'll end it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you, and I'll see you later. So, just a little disclaimer, I plan to upload this on the 18th, but I got sick, and I'm still currently sick, but I feel good enough to finish the edit at least. And I know there's a couple things I missed out on. I did miss out on Digistruct Peak, which I want to talk about a little bit here. It's pretty much just a place to raise your OP levels, and it's also the DLC that came with the upgrade to level 72. And also, I know there are a couple new enemies like the spider tanks I don't believe are in the main game at all, or any of the DLCs. And also, a lot of the
enemies that you meet are a lot stronger than they would be normally, even at the higher OP levels. Like if you go for an OP8 run, then you'll always end up with enemies even stronger than when you go back to OP8 regularly. And it's just a fucking mess, to be honest. Yeah, I just wanted to give a little disclaimer because, yeah, I did want this to be out 3-4 days ago, but that didn't happen. And I finally feel good enough to finish it, and that's what I'm about to do. So, yeah, that's been an interesting couple of days.